Welcome to Logan Fields Podcast. Today I have Craig Mays with me, founder of Solstice, among many, many other things that we're going to talk about. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've watched some of your podcasts, and I just feel honored and privileged to sit in this chair with you today.
Thank you. I feel honored that you're here. Today we have Anastasia with us. She's going to get us some drinks real quick.
Hello. So I will be giving you guys a Crimson Agave, which is a tequila-based drink with a hint of agave as well as some cranberry for a fruity flavor.
Nice.
I have to confess, even though all my kids have been bartenders, I don't know most of what that meant, but it sounds delicious. It looks delicious.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will bring out some food to accompany the drinks as well in a little bit.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, should we cheers as we get started? I don't think I can reach that far.
No, we can't reach, but it counts. That's good. I always like extra salt.
Well, I think I like it too. I didn't know I did, but that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's good, right? Well, again, thanks for coming on. You've done so many interesting things. You've run multiple marathons after the age of 60, correct?
Yes.
Which is really impressive. You've started orphanages and schools, even a hospital. You've done a lot in India, but wait, you don't like Indian food, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to admit that publicly. I've best kept secret for 25 years, but I never acquired a taste for it. And then when I moved to New York, of all things in Manhattan, I was living right on the edge of Little India. So every day I could smell the curry as it waved through the atmosphere. But I love India, but never got used or accustomed to their food.
That's fine, though. What's your food of choice then?
I'm pretty American. I grew up in the Midwest, so that's just meat, potatoes. That's kind of what we ate.
I like it.
Moving to New York, my palate's increased quite a bit. I love Thai food. Not Indian, but I love Thai food. Other French food, British pubs. There's so much good food in this city.
There is. I mean, New York's really interesting. What made you move to New York? Because you're in the city.
Yeah.
You're in the Bronx, is that right?
Brooklyn now.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
See, there it is.
That's right.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, we started in Manhattan, and finally, halfway through COVID, we got outpriced.
Yeah.
So I had to move out to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Cut our rent in half. Cut the size of our apartment in half too. But, as they say, you live in the city and you sleep in your apartment, and that's pretty much what we do, my wife and I. So about over 20 years ago, or nearly 20 years ago, I had made this trip to India, my first one, and it was like a wrecking ball coming into my life. You read statistics, there are a lot of people in the world that are struggling, suffering in poverty, disease, lack of clean water. There's something different when you're in it. It's palatable. You feel it, you taste it, you smell it. And the looks in the eyes of the people that were in so much desperation. When I got back after this short trip, and I had my daughter Megan with me, who was only 12 at the time, and I kind of saw it through her eyes. I said, I can't live the way I'm living. I got to do something about this. What am I going to do? It seemed impossible, but so we just started small and started a nonprofit that began to resource this work in India. In over 25 years, we've built all this now. But I also felt like my suburban life in Metro Detroit area was unsatisfying.
Sure.
Part of it was, and I still buy a Starbucks coffee, but for a while I would go get a latte and pay twice a day's wages for the people in India for that one latte. And it was hard to put the two together. So eventually, my wife and I were led to New York, we felt, to come and work with marginalized populations here, one of the highest homeless populations in the country, probably the highest, and we've been doing that for almost 20 years now.
So what's really interesting to me about that? You went to India, and it was a really jarring, turning experience for you.
Yeah.
You then did a lot of things in India, which were needed. And then you decided to help put your attention and efforts at home.
Yeah.
Which is, from a marketing perspective, sometimes less sexy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What made you make that shift from the overseas, obvious, and if I'm putting it crassly, more marketable? I assume it's easier to raise funds for that. Yeah. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So that's actually, Logan, a pretty insightful question that I don't know if I've ever actually tried to think through that, but in a moment, I know what my answer is.
Yeah.
Which is, India was like a hobby. I was there once a year.
Yeah.
I was raising money for it. I was corresponding, communicating, jumping on Zoom calls, but it wasn't really what I went about, most of the time. So I felt like I don't have to move to India to have this kind of life. I can do it here. And I could have done it in Detroit. Detroit was a city. I was born in Detroit, of great need, but there was a series of experiences that we just felt drawn to come to New York City. So we did that because I didn't want it to be a hobby. I wanted to work with people marginalized. And I don't tell the men and women who are, unhoused right now in New York this, but the unhoused in New York City would be in the top 5% of wealth in India. I mean, the difference is extreme, but it's all perspective, right? Yeah. If you live in America, it doesn't matter what's going on in India. If you don't have resources and you're struggling, you don't have health care, you get evicted from your apartment, you're living on the streets, it's as bad as it can get. There's just not a social safety net in India.
Right. There's also so many people, it becomes logistically difficult,
it does.
Right? But America's big too. America, it's not near as big as India population-wise, but I think we take for granted that a country of 350 to 400 million people, America, it's not just, the politicians need to change this. This is a heavy load.
It is.
To help people. So you made the shift to helping people at home, which again is harder to raise funds for. So this is all really interesting. I'll tell you, obviously I'm friends with people that are in the nonprofit world. I have a lot of exposure to it. One of the things that I think is weak about the nonprofit world in the ability to create impact is just the positioning. Now, I don't know that I have the solve for this, but I want to talk to you about it because I think you're going to have interesting thoughts. Is the positioning of your job is to ask for money. If I have a business where I'm trying to even create impact, I have to create value, and then I can charge high ticket, and I have a lot more control, and the perception of what I'm doing is different.
Right.
Because I'm selling, I'm not taking donations.
Right.
So, and there's a transaction happening. A nonprofit isn't really giving typically a transaction. They're only saying, hey, here, you can deploy capital and do something good with it. What do you think about that whole dynamic? Because so much of your life has to be around convincing people to donate.
Yeah. Again, pretty insightful observation that you've made. My answer is probably going to be somewhat unexpected. I went about it very differently. I was the CEO of 2 organizations here in New York City for a season, and you have a development department, the experts, but the CEO is really your chief development officer. Yeah. So it was a lot about large groups, small groups, one-on-one. But I never looked at as the transaction was not, I need your money. That's using a person.
Yes.
So the transaction for me was, there's probably something in you that I'm going to learn that can connect with empathy. And it's going to be through story. Statistics don't move people. I can tell you there's 125,000 homeless in New York City, men and women, children. There's over 30,000 children who are homeless in New York City. It sounds kind of like a third world country, but that's true in our big cities across the country. That statistic bothers you, upsets you, doesn't really move you necessarily. But if there was a knock on your door here in the studio and is your mother still alive? Probably should have asked that before.
She is, yeah.
And she was at the door and turned out she was homeless.
Yeah.
It'd be different for you.
Yes.
So the issue is really to humanize the problem.
Yeah.
And do it through story, do it through getting in proximity with those who are suffering and see what awakens in you. And by the way, for some people, it's not homelessness. It's clean water. It's trafficking. There's a menu of matters that really are important to me and to others. And so part of it is also discovering what's your passion, or maybe you don't know what it is. So I very much became close friends with many of our major donors. Going to meet with one today who's a very high-ranking person with a company in New York City. But that relationship did not start with money. It started with learning to get to know each other and learning what mattered to her and what she might want to invest in. And then you're really it is transactional then. You're giving them a gift of leveraging. If I could just tell one quick story. About 5 months ago when I was just starting Solstice, I met with a person in this really nice restaurant in Manhattan. Can't tell you, I never knew a steak could cost $300. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess the coffee story pales by comparison. But this person sat down and said from his youth, he was an entrepreneur. He started companies and sold them for insane amount of money and has had great positions with companies. And then he said this thing. He looked me in the eyes and he said, Craig, I don't want my legacy to be that I was a wealthy person who knew how to make money. I want it to be I leveraged my ability to make money to change the world. And I said, well, you're talking to the right person. Because what I want to do is I want to connect you with something you're passionate about. And this person has already made the trip to India on his own, saw the work that we were doing there, and is ready to invest heavily to complete our hospital.
Wow.
I think that's a gift to us, but it's a gift to him.
Yes.
And the reason why he could make that gift so quickly is because what Solstice is about is vetting leaders and organizations, innovators, so that I can get with confidence when I'm talking to a donor, say, this is not an organization I just know about or I read about. I've been there. I know the leader. I do a Zoom call once a month with the leader for coaching. Yeah. I can vouch that your money's going to all be used for what it's supposed to be used.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's fantastic.
I'm kind of a broker, I think.
I love
sense.
that.
Yeah.
So are you looking at things like, oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me ask you a controversial question.
Oh, okay.
What do you think about the fact that the CEO of the Red Cross is paid millions of dollars a year?
I have a problem with that.
You do?
Yep. I don't know the details, the person, the history of Red Cross, but
the ethic of it, you're not happy with.
I wouldn't be happy with that. I think like in New York City, every now and then, if you work for a nonprofit, the 990 is public and anybody can go in and see what my salary was working at the Bowery.
Yeah.
Or at the New York City Rescue Mission, which is where I started. To live in this city, you have to have a 6-figure salary to make it work.
Sure.
You don't need a 7-figure salary.
Okay.
That gives you the nice house, maybe the vacation home down in Florida. Would I like that? Sure. But I made a choice in my life to work in the nonprofit sector where people are giving money to do good. In what percentage of that should go to me so I can have, the life that I want. My life is very comfortable.
So you feel that taking a 7-figure salary, now Red Cross, let's use that as an example, billions they're processing.
Yes.
And they do some great stuff.
Yep.
So in your mind, though, taking a 7-figure salary for a CEO of a nonprofit is incongruent with the ethic of a nonprofit?
I would say generally. I think the argument, if I was to switch sides here and try to suggest an argument, it would be that to run a company that is vast, in so many moving parts and complex, you have to have a high-level leader.
Yes.
And you have to be competitive with salaries to get the high-level leader. So, and who knows, maybe this person gives half of it back to Red Cross. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I wanted to hear your thoughts because I think I'm a tad mixed on that.
Yeah.
I, as a business owner, I'm totally fine with people making lots of money. And I also think, for example, if you're the CEO of Red Cross, you're hanging out with world leaders to where you're still the small fish in the room. And maybe you need a certain lifestyle for it to even be congruent to be in those rooms, but maybe not. So I kind of see both parts of that. And it's interesting to think about. But what I do know that you clearly agree with is that the average nonprofit spends way too much money on admin as opposed to service.
Yeah. The industry standard is 70% at least has to go directly to the need. 30% the cost of your building, your staff, all the behind the scenes things. 80% is desirable. I'm trying to work in the 90 percentile right now. That's my vision for the company.
Yeah.
I'm just getting started, so it's probably going to be challenging to do that, but I don't need overhead.
Yeah.
I can work from anywhere. As the team grows, it's just me right now, but I envision my goal is 100 million in 10 years. That's audacious even to say that. Who am I?
Meaning that's passing through you to other nonprofits.
Yeah. And so, even to say 10% of that is a lot of money that stays in-house, but that's to pay salaries and to pay for materials and marketing everything that we have to do.
Yeah. That's very cool. When you're vetting nonprofits and you're vetting leaders, what are immediate no's for you? What really quickly makes you go, okay, this is not a fit?
Yeah. Well, just to have a conversation like we're having right now and say, tell me, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, how did you land on this as a career or vocation? And just to get at their heart, they have to bleed for it. I mean, it has to be the thing that wakes them up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And that's what happened when I came back from India. I was a miserable person with my family. It was Christmas time. It was like 3 days before Christmas, which is when you see the real commercialism in the the materialism that we have in our culture. I just had no joy in it. I had to find a balance at some point. But the reality is the need is so great that what is it that I need, that I really need, and I think it's a calling. I don't think everyone's going to get to the point where that is. But like this new friend who said, I want to leverage my wealth for good. He's gonna have 7-figure salaries his whole life. He's never going to get away from that. He's very talented and hardworking, but also say, how can I leverage this for good? Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to complain if he has a nice yacht and a nice house or two, but he's really investing, deeply and significantly into areas of need.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure I answered your question fully.
So you said one thing is a passion meter.
Oh yeah, that's right. Back to the question.
Yeah.
I think also the idea of what's your vision? Okay, here's what you're doing now. What's next?
They need to have clarity.
Yeah. How do you take what you're doing? You're having impact. How do you expand that? And you have a team around you. I think that no one person has all the skill set.
Yeah.
So I like humble leaders that know what they can do and what they can't do.
Yeah.
And they build effective teams that work together. There's collaboration. And, are they connected to their community where they're working? Are they an island, or are they really integrating into the community? I did everything I could when I was head of this nonprofit in New York City to get with Stephen Banks, who was the commissioner over social services at the time, to say, how do we become part of the bigger thing?
Yeah.
They're spending, at the time, it was about $1 billion on homelessness. I think it's almost tripled. That's their annual budget in New York City.
Wait, just New York City?
Yeah. I hope I have that right, but it's in the billion. It's over $1 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think they're doing a good job with that? Because
I think it's almost almost an impossible task. I think when something gets that big, I mean, I went to their offices and it was as big as a Walmart in the World Trade Center, on the 68th floor. And I thought, just what is the rent for this alone? Mm-hmm. By necessity, New York City is a shelter city, meaning that they passed a law 30 some years ago. I forget the mayor at the time, that anyone who doesn't have a place to live by law has to be given a bed any night that they want it. A homeless person can wave down a police car in a storm like we had last week, and they have to be taken to shelter.
I like that.
By law.
I like that.
Okay, so what does it take to support that? Okay. Lots of money, lots of people, lots of infrastructure. So again, I don't like to be critical. I think they're trying to do the best they can. I wish that nonprofits and government could work together more closely, but often there are barriers there. I didn't really feel like the welcome mat was put out for me. And I said, one of my opening comments was, the place I work started doing this in 1872. That's how long we've been around.
Wow.
You guys are kind of new to the game. You have resources we don't have, but we have programs. We think we could work together.
Yeah, you have insight.
Yep.
Interesting. I never would have guessed that New York was deploying that much money, just because of what I see visually.
Yeah.
That's,
well, the numbers are growing. It's not going in the right direction.
Why do you think that is?
Well, people will say, what's the cure for homelessness? And my standard answer is, that's like saying you're sick, what's the cure? Well, we got to do a diagnosis to know what you're sick with, right?
Yeah.
So homelessness tends to come from 3 areas, and often they're combined together, but it's mental illness. That's the toughest. It's addiction of some sort. And then the third is just be circumstances, domestic violence, a loss of job, eviction from an apartment. And so all 3 of those are out there. I think the solution is got to be tailored to each of those areas. So the person, for example.
Sorry, one more time on the list. It's domestic violence.
It's anything in your circumstances where you lose your housing. You lose your work, you lose your housing. That's one. And then it's addiction. Then the third is mental illness.
Got it.
I think that to target people who are newly homeless If you can get them in 6 months into a place of a new trajectory, then they're probably not going to remain homeless. If you go past that, life in the street gets hard. Mental illness often comes in.
Right.
Addiction comes in.
Yeah.
And so I really got excited about short-term programs. And one of the things I developed when I was still the CEO was assessing, having social workers assess where is this person in that continuum, and having different programs that meet the needs. So we had long-term recovery programs working on addiction, at least a year, kind of inpatient, you're housed, you're not given a lot of freedom, you try to get over the addiction. And then part of that becomes job training and education, getting GEDs for those that didn't have it. But then there was a short-term program that says you can work right now. So we're going to do short-term housing in our facility that allows you to go to work every day. We're going to start saving up money, and we're going to get you reunited with family, or we're going to get you reunited with an apartment so you can be independent. The ones that I just labored the most over and had the most heartache is mental illness.
Yeah, right, because they're not in step with you. They don't have the ability to be in step with you.
Yep. And that's where, I don't know if you've heard the phrase housing first, but it was a movement across the country, and it's succeeded in some communities, but most not. The idea is that, well, if the problem is you're homeless, what's the solution? A home. So housing first. So let's take a homeless person, give them a place to live where they can take a shower, have a bathroom, they can get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
But when you recall that there's different reasons why someone becomes homeless, we'll put a schizophrenic person
who just walks
in a house,
out.
who's just going to walk out or destroy the house.
Yeah, right.
It's going to become a drug den, if you're not dealing with the addiction. So you can't really, in most cases, I think the state of Utah, which maybe because it's is going to probably sound like a prejudice, but Mormon lifestyle there, it was pretty effective in that state, the housing first, that they got a lot of people off the street who thrived in that situation. Maybe of the three categories, there wasn't a lot of addiction involved in it.
Yeah.
And so they had high success, but in other places it's not turned out to be the panacea that people had hoped for.
That's really interesting. So for you in New York City, let's say you have unlimited time, unlimited money. What are you going to do?
Well, it's going to require facilities, property, and that's the biggest challenge is to buy anything in New York City. And it can't be way out in the boroughs. It's got to be
accessible.
People say, why are there more homeless in Manhattan? And it's because that's where the resources are. If they're going to panhandle, that's where they're going to get the most money. It's where all most of the offices are, the social services, and problems with getting your ID and court appointments and everything. So it's heavily populated. And so I think the facilities have to be within reach. And I would say the first thing I would do would be to work hard at affordable housing. How are we going to change? Working with government, working with politicians. There has to be housing. I can't afford to live in Manhattan. Now, they're not going to get an apartment on the Lower East Side, but how do we find affordable housing? And that could be in the other boroughs. But it has to be centralized in Manhattan, where you're connecting with people and bringing them in programs. And I think half the population of homelessness could be addressed if we had affordable housing. What kind of job do you think a homeless person is going to be able to get?
I mean, only low skilled labor jobs.
Yeah. So they're making minimum wage or maybe slightly above, somewhere in the $20 per hour, maybe at best. Take taxes out. What do you got at the end of the month?
Nothing.
No. So, most of those kind of laborers live out in the outer boroughs, and they have a long commute in, where it's more affordable, but it's not right now. So you can see these are epic challenges that don't see an easy fix. How do you get affordable housing in the most expensive city in the country to live in? How do you find jobs, create jobs for men and women who have skilled or can develop skills that would pay enough even for affordable housing?
Yeah.
So it's a tough challenge, and that's why I try not to be overly critical of the challenge that the city has.
Sure.
I think they're working as hard as they can. A good friend of mine that worked with me at the Bowery works now with the MTA, and he leads a division where they go on the subways, mostly in the evenings or nights, where they tend to sleep in there, and they don't go in there to kick them off. They go in there to connect them with resources and try to get them help. And so I think there's a lot of innovation the city's trying to do. They're taking it seriously, and they're obviously throwing a lot of money at it. So
yeah, Yeah, what an interesting challenge. And I mean, I think like you said, or like you were alluding to anyway, the kind of focusing on some of the root things, the drug addiction, the mental illness, which, by the way, in my opinion, because of medical advancement and AI, I think in my lifetime that addiction and mental illness almost goes to zero.
Well, I'm
pretty optimistic.
I'm a little bit older than you, so I may not live long enough to see that, but wouldn't that be something?
I think it would be something. Yeah. I'm optimistic, but there's a road to it. And I mean, New York, for example, it's just millions of people and there's not space, and it's all really interesting. So for you, over, say, the next few years, what's the ideal? What's the dream? What do you want to see happen with Solstice?
Well, I think, again, I feel like I'm serving two clientele. I'm serving, because I think it's a pretty simple model. What I want to do is we're using the word ignite. Solstice is igniting change, and we're igniting four things. We're igniting generous individuals who want to give to something that matters.
Yeah.
What matters to you? My menu of things to invest in is going to grow. I've got like 12 areas right now. It's going to be 50. Like the young woman you were telling me about who is working with books in pediatric cancer, right? Centers. So the list could get very long, but it's igniting people who want to be generous, finding out what they're passionate about. It might be some things on my menu. It might be something new.
Yeah.
Connecting them with organizations that are having true impact that's measurable. They're not just playing around, throwing money at stuff. They're actually changing in the area that they're working in. And that means they have a leader who's a visionary, who has strategy, who is building teams, who is healthy. That's part of where my company comes in as well, because my PhD is actually in psychology. So I've done a lot of things, but I can come at it from a business leadership perspective, but also the psychology of it and their own mental health. And so I'm doing that, and then I'm igniting innovation. So, for example, the orchestra there's going to be a homeless orchestra within a year that Juilliard is involved in, and a young leader who's an alum. Like, that's fantastic.
Yes.
I want to help raise money for this young guy.
That's very
see
cool.
What can happen.
What are they going to, they're going to do a big concert?
Yeah, they're going to have a full orchestra. He's a composer, so he's writing his original music, and they're giving lessons right now. And while these men and women are being trained for this, they're given a stipend, they're given a place to live, and a stipend, some money, so they're kind of being paid to do this. But what's going to happen by the time they do this is their self-efficacy is going to grow so much that they will not be on the street. I promise you. That's what Back on My Feet is doing in New York City as well. It's a running program. Is when you get someone who is homeless and 8 months later or 14 months later, they're running the New York City Marathon and finishing it. They can do anything.
Wow.
So Solstice is about finding these innovative individuals, these entrepreneurs, and bringing resources to them, making sure that they have leadership skills and that they're healthy as leaders, and seeing the impact that we can make.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. So you think that a lot of the innovation that merits attention is more the psychological triggers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I lived in Hawaii for a long time. Have you ever been to
Lucky
Hawaii?
you.
Yeah. It was great, by the way.
40 years ago when I got married, and I'm going in March. I haven't been there in 40 years.
Are you going to Oahu?
Yes.
Fantastic. I might have some restaurant recommendations and stuff for you. I lived there for 8 years, which, by the way, it was great. It smells like plumeria. There's rainbows in the sky. The food is great. It's fantastic. But on Oahu specifically, which is the most populated island, and that's where Honolulu is, if people aren't familiar, there's a huge homeless epidemic. And they actually have tent cities. They'll be on the beaches or under like highway ramps. Part of it is because I think it's a little different in Hawaii. It's not quite as much about the mental illness and the drug use, although that's for sure a factor, but entire families. Like, wait, you're not in Manhattan, you're not typically seeing an entire 5-person family or something. In Hawaii, you will. And it's because of the cost of living is a big part of it. It's really interesting. And getting out of those holes can be so difficult. And you get in this place, I think, mentally, that makes it even more difficult to dig yourself out. Whether you're alone or you're with a family, I saw a lot of it. If a homeless person was seeing this, what would you tell them the next step for them is?
Yeah. It's interesting, just staying with Hawaii for a minute.
Yeah.
There's a friend of mine, his name is Scott. He's a New Jersey native.
Okay.
Worked with an organization called City Relief, which is also New Jersey based, but they work in New York City, working with the homeless.
Yeah.
And he moved to Maui.
Yeah.
To start a homeless program in Maui. And I've only been to Maui 40 years ago and went to the road to Hana and did all that stuff, but they're on the beaches and they're setting up cities there, and it's families, the exact same thing.
Yep.
And so I think in those situations, there might be barriers that are keeping them from the social safety net. There might be resources available for them. That's what City Relief does. This is Wednesday. So right now in Chelsea Park in Manhattan, they have a whole setup on the sidewalk with tents, and they're handing out some soup and bread and socks from Bombas, who's a partner, and doing other things. But they also have people that represent immigration. So there's lawyers there that they can sit and talk with. There's social workers. There's housing experts. There's resources available that often people that are struggling don't know about, or they've been given wrong information, or they don't know where to go. So I think that's the place to start, and that's what Scott's doing in Maui, I believe. I'm hoping maybe I can connect with him when I'm there in a month, but is making sure, first of all, that they're aware of every resource that's available. As taxpayers, where some of our money is going to create these programs to help them, and not to sustain them indefinitely where they're dependent on the government handouts, but get them over the hump and give them some hope that they can move forward. Because one of the worst things, what I found in working so many years with unhoused men and women, by the way, I try to use that language because I hate leading with homeless. You are a person who doesn't have a home right now.
Yeah, I see that.
Unhoused, sometimes I still go to default.
Sure.
But unhoused person is that they've lost two things more than their house or their apartment. They've lost family along the way. Because I know if I became unhoused, people would in my family and my network of friends would be lining up to help me. So how did that happen?
Yeah.
And the second thing is they've lost hope. So effort to try, they give up. And so sometimes just saying, there's a path forward for you. We're gonna take your hand and walk you through this. That's what City Relief, which is an organization you ought to get to know, is doing the best job, I think, in New York City. It's a nonprofit, private, but this is what they do in every 9 locations throughout the week, different in the Bronx, and they do at Patterson in Newark as well. And they're connecting people with resources, giving them hope, planting seeds of hope. There is a way forward. It's not going to maybe take a week or two. It might take longer. But if you stay with us, let us work with you. We can get you to the resources that are available now and eventually elevate your life, help you elevate your life to the point that you don't need those resources. You don't need SNAP anymore. You don't need, you might need subsidized housing. I think that's one thing that the city could do.
Yeah,
that more. So back to your original question, if I had lots of money, if Department of Social Services handed me $1 billion and said, what are you going to do? I said, it's all going to go right now into subsidized housing, affordable housing.
I like problem. That totally makes sense. I want to talk more about how you pick the companies. By the way, we're going to have the chef come in 3 minutes, and then we're doing some rapid fire questions. But before we get to that, when you're picking who to go with, as far as the nonprofits that you pick, you want them to be passionate. You want them to have a clear vision. What are you typically matching them with one big donor, or are you setting them up with entire strategies?
I would say it depends what they need.
Okay.
I don't like the idea of one big donor creates a dependency if that goes away. So I think it's always
in business we call it a key client risk.
Right. So now I have a new terminology for that.
Yes.
Same idea though.
Yep.
So And the other thing is that have they built, if they're good leaders, they've built their own infrastructure for raising money. So they're not like, I'm not the savior that comes in and bails them out. But often it's like, all right, you're doing all this. What's your dream? Are you a dreamer? Or are you just going to maintain what you're doing? And I don't know that I'm a dreamer so much in my leadership style, but I've been around dreamers and they ignite me and excite me. And so that's a person where so here's an example. I went to Nepal in the fall. That's the worst sex trafficking in the world.
Is Nepal?
Yeah, 25 to 35,000, mostly young girls are taken across the border every year.
From Nepal?
Mostly into India, some into China. So this organization has set up 17 outposts at the border where they actually set up these booths. The government has approved it. The police support them. They're there as well.
Yeah.
And they stop trafficking. They can recognize.
They're rescuing girls.
Yeah. I went there and saw in October in the fall, I actually stood there and watched them pull some girls out of a car or rickshaw that were being taken into India.
Wow.
And they take them into their safe houses. And it's an amazing organization. These women are given a trade and they become business owners. In one city, there were 30 barbershops, beauty shops run by formerly trafficked women that own the business.
That's very cool.
It's super. But the reason I'm telling you this is that when the gentleman who runs this picked me up at the airport, I told him about Solstice and I said, I'm going to raise a lot of money for you. What you're doing is so amazing. And he said, I don't need money.
Really?
And I said to him, no nonprofit leader has ever said that.
Yeah, I've never heard that before either.
And then, so I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we have lots of people give to this. We have a lot of money in the bank. They have a couple $1 million in the bank. But as I sat with him for a week, said, what's on the horizon?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy's got vision. I said, oh, you got more than $2 million vision. So you're going to need money if you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And so that's when I'm looking at organizations, does the person have a vision beyond what they're doing in the status quo? Are they fairly healthy now? If they're not healthy, I can help. I can offer that service.
Yeah.
Not that, again, that I'm like the Messiah coming in, but I've got years of nonprofit leadership experience. Yep. Mm-hmm. We did $11 million expansion in Lower Manhattan on a building, added 3 floors and doubled our space, our beds. Wow. I've got experience. Certainly have gaps in my leadership, but I'm excited about helping leaders overcome their barriers. Yeah. And that's what happened that week with this gentleman is that I wasn't sure why I was there. And then about halfway through the week, we sat over a long lunch and he talked about some relational challenges he was having with staff members and leaders on his staff. Mm-hmm. And we had a 2-hour coaching session impromptu. And that resulted in him wanting to do Zoom calls with me once or twice a month from Nepal to New York to help him as he continues in his leadership. So sometimes that's what I'm going to provide. Maybe not money, but encouragement and coaching and leadership development and working with conflict resolution with staff members, et cetera.
That's really, really cool. Now, for people who, here we go, actually.
I see it.
Hello.
I smell it. Hello.
There we go. We have some barbecue pork empanadas as well as a homemade guacamole. Mm. I hope that you guys enjoy.
Homemade by you?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And it pairs perfectly with your drink, so I hope you guys enjoy.
Awesome. So here's what we're going to do. We'll try this together in a second, and then I'm going to run through some rapid-fire questions. And one of the tricks here is we have to keep eating as we're going through the questions.
So we can talk with food in our mouth?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. With the barbecue sauce?
It's incredible. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ready for me?
I am ready. Actually, I don't know if I'm ready. I'll tell you after.
Windsurfing or sailing? Which is more peaceful?
Sailing.
Yeah?
Yeah, windsurf, when I was younger, that's more of an adventure, and it's grueling physically. Mm. It's exciting. Sailing is peaceful. I'll sail any day I can get out in the water.
That's cool.
By the way, my sailboat's named Solstice.
Is it in New York?
It's in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
That's a great name, too.
Great Lakes.
Most memorable city you've visited in India?
Delhi, without question. Mm. First time I was there, we were going in a rickshaw, a motorized rickshaw. Mm-hmm. Tons of traffic. Animals share the roads. You got cows and sheep and stuff. And then all of a sudden I look over and there's an elephant walking down. That's not something I see.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. And then
really cool.
we set our backpacks down to take some pictures, and a bunch of monkeys came in and stole them, and we're taking food out of them and stuff. So it's just, it's an exciting experience.
That's fun. So you read about 5 books at a time, right?
Yep.
Which one is winning out of the books you're reading right now?
Well, there's a book, it was a New York Times bestseller called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Incredible.
Okay.
It's a pastor who wrote this, and he has elements certainly of his faith in there, but I think anyone would benefit from it because our world has changed. Our minds are always hyperactive now, at least, and I certainly am. And there were so many things I took from this book. I just finished it last week. So that's my favorite currently.
That sounds good. I might have to give that a read. If your life were a film, what genre would it be?
Comedy.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mentioned to your admin, I'm not sure if I'm using the title right.
My assistant.
Your assistant, that my family calls me Clark Griswold. And if you know those movies, I am Clark to a T.
That's
funny. In fact, they do awards every year called Giving a Clarkie.
Really?
Or people get Clarked when they're around me because I fall out of trees when I'm putting Christmas lights on. I do everything he did. That's me. So I see myself as comedian.
Yeah, that's fun. What's the most misunderstood thing about India?
Boy, that's a hard one. The dress is beautiful. The colors are beautiful. Even when you watch a movie like Slumdog Millionaire, where you see the poverty, there's also like the culture looks so enticing and interesting, but the people as a whole are very, very sick. I remember the first time I took a doctor from United States with me, and we did these clinics, and he probably saw 200 patients the first day, and just taking vitals and talking to them through a translator. And he said, the only prescription I can write that could have impact is you need to leave India.
Their air quality is really a big problem, among other things. Yeah,
I mentioned Delhi. They're almost all that way now. But first time I went to Delhi, within 10 minutes, I was having trouble breathing. I blew my nose, and it was all black.
Oh,
I mean, the air pollution is so bad. So people are very, very sick. So they have beautiful teeth, beautiful smiles, beautiful colors externally, but very sick.
Yeah.
Internally.
Wow. Do you prefer physical, audio, or Kindle books?
That's evolved over the years. I'm a book person. I had a personal library that probably had 5,000-6,000 books in it. And then when I moved to New York to a small apartment, I had to get rid of most. And then I went to a smaller apartment. I had to get rid of more. And that's when I shifted to Kindle. I have it with me today. It took me 3 trains to get here from Brooklyn. And I love to read, but I'm not going to haul books around. So I probably read parts of 3 different books. But I still love the feel of a book.
Yeah.
My hand. And in fact, I was in a used bookstore last week, and I saw a copy of Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises.
Okay.
And it was a very old book.
Yeah.
Old paper, old cover, and I bought it for $5 and just add it to my library.
That's amazing.
So I love the feel of that, but I love the convenience of a Kindle. Audiobooks I don't do. I don't retain.
Okay.
I need to read. I need to make notes. I even make notes in my Kindle, highlight things. That's how I read.
I love it. All right, one last question for you. Who would you recommend that you know to be a guest on this podcast?
Well, your topics you cover are pretty diverse. I've been peeking at what you've been doing a little bit. So I would say in the vein, maybe you don't do it right away because you've talked to me, but I think Josiah Haken, who is the CEO of City Relief, and he's kind of explains the genesis of the Solstice for me personally, because I met him when he was 23, and he was working for City Relief, but at kind of the lowest level in the organization. And I was the CEO of the Bowery, or the New York City Rescue Mission, and we became friends. And he asked me to mentor him. So we started meeting at the TikTok Diner near Madison Square Garden once a month, and we did it for over a decade.
Yeah.
And he grew in the organization. Well, now he's the CEO. He's a great thought leader. He's an author, innovator, passionate, crazy guy. Just climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last week with 2 other guys to raise money for City Relief. Apparently he got really sick up there. So I haven't talked to him. I just texted him yesterday, but he will light this place up. He's he's really, he might even watch this one and say, Craig didn't get it all right. Some of the statistics, he just knows it.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about innovation, what's some of the same questions you asked me, I think you'll find the depth that's there, and he's a lot of fun. He's kind of like a hippie.
Okay.
That's what I call him.
Love it.
Hippie leader.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love an introduction.
Yeah, I'll send the information to you, so you know how to get a hold of him.
Great. Craig Mays, thanks for being on the podcast. Where can people find you?
I would say best thing is the word solstice, which, by the way, if I can just say real quickly, the reason I chose that is it's an ancient word, 2 Latin words, sun and stops. So they used to think twice a year the sun stopped moving, not realizing that actually the earth was moving.
Yes,
but what it did is it represented a change, 180-degree change.
Mm-hmm.
So solstice is about change, and it's about new seasons coming. And so if you think solstice for change.org, that's my company's website. You can learn more about me. And there's ways there that if any of your listeners want to contact me because they fall in one of those categories, I've got a lot of money, I don't know where to give it away, or I'm leading a nonprofit, I need help. You can reach me through the website, and I'd love to talk with them.
Amazing. Thanks again for coming on.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks for the wonderful food and treats, too.
Absolutely. This has been the Logan Fields Podcast. I'll see y'all next time.